In a bustling hangar on the edge of a small city airport, James Walker, a rugged single father in his late 30s, hunched over a disassembled jet engine with grease-streaked hands and sweat-soaked coveralls. His 6-year-old daughter Lily played nearby with a box of crayons and a worn coloring book, unaware of the tension building around her father. James, once a decorated Air Force engineer, had chosen to leave his high-flying career after his wife passed away from cancer, needing to be both mother and father to Lily. Now, he worked long hours fixing private jets to make ends meet, never once complaining, only doing what he must to provide a good life for his little girl. One Friday morning, a sleek black SUV pulled up beside the hangar and out stepped Charles Barrington, a young, arrogant CEO of a luxury tech aviation firm. Impeccably dressed in a tailored suit and sunglasses that probably cost more than James's monthly salary, Charles strutted in with the entitled air of someone born into wealth. He was there to oversee his latest prototype jet, one that had been mysteriously malfunctioning despite top-tier engineers analyzing it for months. When Charles saw James, a grease-covered, average-looking mechanic playing peekaboo with his daughter instead of working, he scoffed loudly. "They called you in to look at my jet engine," he said mockingly, his voice echoing across the hangar. "What is this, bring your kid to work, day for mechanics?" The other workers laughed nervously, but James didn't flinch. He quietly wiped his hands, stood, and extended his hand with a calm nod. "Name's James Walker. Let's see what we're dealing with." Charles ignored the handshake. "Don't bother. I doubt you can even understand half the tech in that engine. My guys at MIT can't figure it out." "What are you going to do with a wrench and a smile?" But as the minutes turned into hours, Charles watched in growing disbelief as James expertly navigated the engine's internals, diagnosing flaws in real time with an instinct that could only come from years of intimate knowledge and hands-on experience. The mechanics in the hangar stood in stunned silence as James spotted a rare vibrational imbalance caused by a flaw in the intake turbine, something the algorithms and computers had overlooked. But Charles wasn't ready to admit defeat. Yeah, lucky guess," he grumbled. Then, as James reached into the engine bay, his sleeve rolled up, revealing a large, intricate tattoo on his forearm. It was the emblem of the elite Phantom Squadron, a secretive engineering task force used by NATO during high-stakes missions, recognizable only by a few in the aviation world. Charles froze. His smug expression vanished. He'd read about Phantom Squadron. His late father, a Pentagon contractor, once told him those were the men behind the tech that saved Air Force One in a sabotage attempt a decade ago. Charles stepped back, his voice low now. Where did you get that tattoo?" James looked at him for the first time with seriousness. "Earned it. I wasn't always just a mechanic, Mr. Barrington." For the first time in his life, Charles didn't have a comeback. And the other workers? They looked at James not just with respect, but with awe. As the CEO walked away in silence, Lily tugged at her father's sleeve. "Daddy, why was that man so rude?" James knelt beside her and smiled softly. "Some people forget what real work looks like, sweetie." But today, I think he remembered. And as the hangar lights flickered and the jet engine hummed to life once more, a quiet transformation began, not in the machine, but in the heart of a CEO who'd just been humbled by the very men he mocked. Chapter 2, The Tattoo That Spoke Louder Than Rank. After that day, whispers of James's past spread like wildfire through the aviation circles. Mechanics, engineers, even flight instructors came to him not just for advice, but for mentorship. But Charles Barrington. He couldn't sleep. Night after night, the image of that tattoo haunted him, not out of fear, but respect. His father, the late Henry Barrington, once told him that the men with those tattoos were ghosts in the skies, engineers so skilled they were called when failure wasn't an option. Charles had mocked a legend. Racked with guilt and curiosity, Charles returned to the hangar days later, this time without the suit, without the sunglasses, and without the swagger. He waited quietly as James finished his shift and helped Lily into her car seat. "Mr. Walker," Charles began, his voice humble, "I owe you an apology. I was wrong about you." James studied the young CEO carefully, seeing something new in his eyes, sincerity. "You weren't wrong," James replied. "You just didn't look deep enough." They sat down on a bench beside the hangar, where Charles confessed he had always lived in his father's shadow, never earning anything on his own. "Everything came easy, except respect," he admitted. "But you. You have something I'll never have, experience, purpose, and your daughter's eyes lighting up when she sees you. That hit James harder than he expected. For years, he doubted himself, if leaving the military was the right move, if fixing jets was enough, if being both mom and dad was too much to carry alone. But in that moment, the respect from someone like Charles gave him a strange validation. Days turned into weeks, and Charles did the unthinkable. He offered James a lead engineering consultant role in his company, with complete flexibility to care for Lily and train others. I need people like you to teach guys like me how to do things that matter, Charles said. James initially refused. I'm not the corporate type. But Charles had learned. He didn't push. Instead, he offered James something else, funding and facility access to open his own aviation repair and innovation school, for veterans, single parents, and blue-collar workers. You don't need a degree from MIT to be